Imagine if we will have to live without electricity for 2 weeks. What will happen?
Just how wonderful no internet would be, I think, would be wonderful. Like keep electricity, but just lose the internet, you know? How wonderful would it be even just as a family to watch TV together? We used to think, oh, TV is so bad, but now if we as a family sit down and watch a movie together, that's quality time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Anchoring Hope podcast, where we're interviewing business leaders and people of faith that are really changing this world and shining the light in these last days. Today we have episode number 2 with Frank Cianciulli. Frank, welcome to the show.
Well, good to be back, David. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Frank, for giving us your time again. I know it's very valuable, so it means the world to me. But for refreshing the audience, can you give me, again, your name, where do you live, and what do you do for a living these days?
Well, Frank Cianciulli. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I do spend some time here. But lately, these last few years, I've been, I like to say I'm getting too old to be cold. So I've been spending a lot of time in Miami, Florida. So I do 6 months in Florida, and then I enjoy the peace and serenity of small town lake living. So I've been spending a lot of time at my lake house, northern Ontario. And as far as what I do, I'm a husband and to a lovely bride and a father of 2 teen kids. So they keep me busy with sports and that kind of stuff. But as far as business, I'm in the telecom, media, HR, business for over 20 years now, right from school, and I've been blessed with some wonderful leaders and managers to run the businesses. That allows me to be all over the world, enjoying life as they're there day in, day out, helping our clients and building the business.
What a blessing. And actually that's I have a similar story, maybe not to the level of your success, but the Lord has been able to free me so I could actually do this type of things like the podcasting, right? Yeah. People think that we do podcasting for business, but it's just for the glory of the Lord Jesus Christ. And it's a blessing that you are freed from the day-to-day life, and it's not easy. And that's why I wanted you to come back, because last time we started talking about different issues that the world is going through, and we got very excited. I just reviewed the podcast, and it's really worth watching it. If you guys have watched it, you should watch it again, because we're going into deep philosophical thinking and deep into our faith. But this time I want to focus more on the business side of things, and how did you get yourself into this situation where you're not even in retirement age, and now you're able to have a life of freedom. And I know it takes a lifetime to generate that. And luck doesn't exist in business. It's just discipline and a blessing, right? And if the Lord wants to prosper you, He will. So for you went to college. Did you go to college at all or not?
I went to York University here in Toronto. Yeah.
And what did you take? What was your major?
Okay, so I'm a history political science major. The plan was to be a lawyer. That was the plan.
I guess it didn't happen, right?
I don't know if I told you the story, but after second university, I met a gentleman who had his own business, and we would, we'd have lunches and have coffees while we were out doing appointments. And he'd start talking to me about his faith. I told him I was born, I was raised a Catholic, which, I enjoyed. I enjoyed growing up Catholic. I thought the Catholic schools I went to all did a good job. But he was talking more about personal relationship, with Jesus. And so that really attracted me. So when I became born again in 93. So yeah, it was kind of after second, third year university, something like that.
That's amazing.
So
wow.
It didn't take away from my studies, but I ended up, catching the entrepreneurial bug. Let's just put it that way. And I thought, hey, maybe my calling is more sales and business versus, although I really do believe I'd be a great lawyer. Unfortunately, I still have to work with a lot of lawyers today. So besides, not liking any conflict or paying the bills, I am good. I think I would have been a good lawyer. But no, then I ended up getting a summer job. I was doing a side business, working as sales in a teleconferencing company. This is back in the mid '90s. So what we're doing here on this platform, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, all of that. Before that, there was guys like us, and even to today, I'm still in that business, and we're one of the largest in the world, next to Zoom and Microsoft Teams. So. And I worked there, and then I really was passionate about the business. I thought it suited my personality well, and I wanted to be in business for myself. But like I said, I'm a history political science major, so I knew nothing about business. I didn't know how to write a business plan. I didn't know how to get any money. But like you said, when you start speaking something and you manifest it and you pray for it, and the Lord just works in mysterious ways, and put. He put a good friend and partner of mine, and I met him at an event, and basically I told him my idea, and he was intrigued, and he invested in me, believed in me, and the rest is history. And then since then, the domino effect, and we can get into it if you like, but how I set up, a lot of the relationships and people that I first started working with, I wanted to share the wealth, so to speak, and with a plan to say, if you really develop people and build people, and they believe in the similar things and have the same values and integrity and work ethic and discipline, and a desire to serve. You have a big sign here: leaders are servers. Mm-hmm. Then it could be duplicatable, and fortunately that's worked out. Listen, you could always make more money. I think we might have talked about that in the first episode. At some point, you got to find that balance. And for me, freedom, is more important than money. Like material things only, unfortunately, less and less, benefit or excitement. New car thrill barely lasts a day, now. But wonderful, dinners or date nights with my daughter, or just, I just got back from a lovely fishing trip way up north in northern Ontario, God's country we're calling it, and spending that time with my 81-year-old father, one of my best friends, and the people we met, and catching fish with glorious sunsets. That's priceless. We'll remember that forever.
And with the colors of the leaves nowadays,
it was
last week has been the best, most beautiful week in the whole.
So there was ahead, because it's much colder.
Right.
3 sweaters, 2 jackets, 3 hats. And then come back here and it's summer again.
I know, it's like 25 degrees today. It's crazy, and it's been sunny for the last 10 days. It's amazing, and everything is turning gold and red. It's gorgeous. But Frank, isn't that amazing that you went to school to have a career that you thought you were going to have?
Yeah.
And then the Lord sends you somebody that is in business and is a man with a personal relationship with the Lord. And by this influence, your life completely changed.
Oh, and it did so much, because we just did an exercise with a group of entrepreneurs talking about major events or people that shaped your life, and he was definitely one, because obviously he taught me a lot of business skills and sales skills that I obviously helped develop me, but it was intertwined with faith, and it was based on scripture, and about being a compassionate capitalist. I like that word, compassionate capitalist. That's what's wrong in the U.S. today. Obviously, the capitalist spirit is still very strong there, but they're losing their compassion. They talk about making America great again. Well, for America to be great again, the business leaders and entrepreneurs got to give back to the communities and invest in their people, like they were doing in the 40s and 50s and 60s, because they stopped doing that. Yeah. The discrepancy between the CEO pay and these people that are robbing at these publicly traded companies and the front line is like 300 to 1 now. It was like 20, 30 to 1 back then. The CEO was paid well, but not exorbitant amounts. Meanwhile, you're starving all your people and taking jobs. That's the real issue that politicians aren't talking about, and that's up to the actual ownership and the management of the company to say, listen, how much is enough? So I got to rob from all my employees and pay them crappy salaries to buy more yachts and private jets. Come on.
Yeah, that you will not use anyways, because if you look at the statistics, every next toy that you get, you use less and less. Is the law of diminishing results, right?
Big time. Yeah.
Diminishing returns. It happens with everything material, right? I don't know about you, but I was in love with cars. So the first car, it was my first sports car was, this is so beautiful. I love it. And then when I was able to acquire more, those
Yeah.
that satisfaction lowers to the point that you don't even care anymore.
No, so there's no point. I'm most happy when I'm driving a pickup truck when we were up north fishing and hunting.
Right?
I don't have to worry. I can hit a curb. Who cares? Big up nice and high on the road. So anxious driving these fancy cars. I don't hit a curb. And you know, one thing, well, I heard something recently that really resonated. They said, you know, as you get richer and okay, you become more isolated. You become more alone because let's say, okay, you buy a private yacht. Okay, so instead of going on a nice cruise line and maybe meeting wonderful people, now you're by yourself on this big boat. Then you buy a private jet. Okay, so instead of going to the airport and maybe meeting people and getting engaged and just being, you know, the excitement around traveling, oh, now you're by yourself on a plane. So, okay, instead of living in a neighborhood where your kids can, you know, go next door and make lifelong friendships with other kids, no, now you're living all alone in a big house and big acreage, you know, and then you start comparing, you know, you say, okay, well, once you're, you know, someone you admire is close to you or not, maybe he's an enemy or someone you don't like, they do well, you feel sad. You do well for a bit, you feel good. You're not doing well, you feel bad. Your emotions and your mental state is always based on acquiring and what you look like. When in reality, no one really cares. If anything, most people are going to be jealous of your success anyway. Mm-hmm. You know, besides maybe your parents and those people who truly love you, you know, they're not celebrating your success. You know,
it's true. And you know, and what you just described is when you start loving money instead of loving the love of Jesus Christ, right? When you develop the love of money, and this happened to me, I had to repent and get rid of that.
It's human nature, you know. There's no.
It grabs you, right? It grabs you, and you start comparing yourself to the next guy. So I remember, okay, now I gotta have what he has. I achieved that. Oh, he's nobody now, so now I'm gonna find somebody else that I need. And it never ends. There's always somebody richer. It never ends, and then that unfulfillment in your heart gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and before you know, your life is meaningless. Yeah. And this is the greed that these big corporations are getting into it, because that's what you described, right? The problem with North America is not only the USA, it's Canada too, right?
Yeah.
The greed has gotten to a point that it's never enough, right?
And then you've got all the marketers and the social media platforms and all that breeding it right from a young age. Even though as adults we were susceptible to it. If I go and scroll on the social media, I feel horrible after. You know, I've got everything, and I'm having an amazing experience. I'm in a beautiful place, and I'm sitting there looking on this phone, and I'm envious. I'm thinking, am I crazy now?
Right.
I'm in a beautiful place somewhere, lying on a beach in Miami or wherever, and here I am always, you know, feeling like I'm not doing enough or I'm missing out, or, you know, and material just constantly. And, you know, kids especially, they're programming them at a very young age. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, no surprise why mental health is, you know, and, you know, God forbid all the suicide rates. I mean, of course, you know, that's not a way to live. You know, I hope we get back to more of a simple way of life. I thought maybe with the COVID thing, because people were, you know, some of the people who were getting into nature, that was going to stick. But no, everybody just got back to their old habits, it looks like.
It's sad when you go to neighborhoods and you don't see kids playing on bikes or playing with a ball outside the way you and I were raised, right? Like, yeah, I couldn't wait. I remember I couldn't wait to get home to have a meal and go outside and play with my friends. Right.
So as I said, I was just in Northern Ontario. So, you know, as we were driving down through these very small towns, you know, the biggest ones were maybe 5,000 people. It was a little strip, you know, very small. And one of the friends that we brought with us, he had never been that far up north. He's only been maybe 3 hours, you know, cottage country, but we were up north, you know, close to James Bay. And as I was going through, it says, I know you think, okay, these people must be unhappy, or, oh, what is there to do here? It's quite the opposite. I bet you if there's a way to measure happiness, I bet you a lot of those people are very happy and content. Right. They're in nature. They're forced, you know, to do things, you know, whether it's hiking or fishing or, you know, being out in community. They obviously see the churches in all these little towns. Polite. You know, you stop for a coffee or to gas up. Everybody's so polite. So I don't know. I've been lately feeling the big city's been overwhelming. You know, I want to try and force myself to be more in a small town, more where there's neighbors and connection. You know, I'm studying the blue zones as well. I don't know if you ever explored that stuff. You know, places where people live to 100 years old. One of the big, besides their food, but the big one is their connection, their spirituality, and community. You know, and moving, walking. You know, things that you don't really necessarily do in a big city. And in a big city, you get up and drive to go anywhere. Just down your street to get the mail, you got to drive.
Right. Yeah, and also people don't talk to you. Like,
and talk.
It's like you have millions of people living in one place and nobody talks to each other. It's so sad, right?
Oh, you get into an elevator and you got 10 people, no one says a word. That would never happen in a small town. I mean, you can't go anywhere without talking to everybody. It's nice.
And you know, that's why when I went to Eastern Canada, that's one of the shocking things that I noticed. I don't know if you've been, but I was in New Brunswick, and everybody was so friendly and open-minded, and they will actually invite you for lunch, even though they didn't know you. You know, like, it was amazing.
Yeah, I would say big city living, especially in North America, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a healthy lifestyle as far as from what we're eating and the noise, pollution, the speed, the traffic. Nothing really, you know, I'm not saying you can't find balance, but you have to really try. You have to make an effort, you know.
Yeah, it's hard, especially if you're stuck in a condo with another 2,000 apartments.
Yeah, concrete jungle, you know, it's tough. I mean, I lived in downtown for 3 years. I was very anxious there. I didn't feel balanced there at all.
For sure. And again, it goes back to your faith, right? Like, you know, when you were saying that you build leaders, right? And then once you build your leaders, you show them that being a leader is being a servant. That's exactly what Jesus came to teach us, right? He is God made human, and what he came to wash the disciples' feet, right? Yeah,
I mean, listen, I like to, I don't say it often unless it's small room, you know, but I'll say it on this podcast. Like, you know, the model, the Wish group is very similar to having apostles, right? I mean, not that I'm Jesus out by any stretch, but teaching people how to fish, right? Not just giving it to them, like teaching them the craft. Let them observe and learn how to build the company and build great teams and serve service-based leadership. Business is going to thrive if you do the right things. Whatever you reap, you're going to sow. Whatever you sow, you're going to reap, right? So you reap what you sow. So, you know, and versus people being focused on what can I get and what can you give? What can you serve? You know, life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. You got to have those beliefs, especially in business, because it's not all, you know, wonderful rainbows, money just falling from the sky. Even if a company does very well, it's still very, very challenging.
Very hard. Well, back to your point that now instead of being a lawyer, you hire lawyers.
No.
You wouldn't need lawyers if it was easy.
Yeah, exactly. So I think life is meant to be that way. I think, you know, suffering is part of it. That's when we grow. Again, human nature is that, you know, when everything's going well, we don't need God. We don't need nothing. We feel undefeatable. We feel like we're going to live forever until God gives you a little bit of a wake up call. You know, and that's, I believe that's where the health issues potentially come, or the struggles come. It's like, okay, you're getting ahead of yourself. This is not because of you, it's because of me. So get back here and let's learn the lesson so you can move on again.
You know, talking about that, you're completely right. Like we tend to run away from suffering. But recently I watched a movie about the life of C.S. Lewis, the guy who made Narnia, right? Who wrote Narnia, and he was a born-again Christian. It's funny because he came to faith because he was a scholar, so he studied all the faiths in the world as a scholar in the university. And once he came into Christianity, he realized that Jesus was the truth and the way, and that nobody got to the Father except through Jesus. And it was based on the love of the gospel. But when he was very afraid of having a wife, for example, and then after, if you look at his memoirs and after what he wrote, and you know, he got married and then his wife dies. For him to get married was very hard. He was very untrusting. And then being a born-again Christian, now his wife got cancer and then she dies, and this terrible pain that he had in his heart. And after he mourned for her, he realized that pain and suffering is part of the joy of being a Christian. And the way he conceptualized it is beautiful, because if you look at life the way we are in this world, the Lord told us that in this world we will have tribulation. But he says, I overcome the world already. And he also says, but I will give you joy and peace and a peace that transcends all understanding, not the way the world gives you peace, which is fake, but real truth peace, like peace that even you're in the middle of a storm, you can still be at peace. And this is what I look after on my faith and on my daily life now. I fell into the self-help trap, and I started reading Stoicism and started applying Stoic concepts, which, by the way, they were already there when Jesus came. But if you look at Stoicism, for example, the golden rule, right? What you were saying, right? Jesus said, do unto others as you wish to do unto you. What the Stoics say is different, or Buddhism. What they say is, don't do unto others what you don't want them to do unto you. So it's negative, it's passive. One is positive, is proactive, the other one is negative. And it's a complete different philosophy. For example, your business, where are you where you are? Because you took the time to give your employees the tools and that they needed and the instructions they needed to grow in their careers. So you are actually giving them what you want them to give to you. Right? But it's the opposite to say, imagine you're in business and now you're saying, okay, I'm set. I'm just not gonna mess with them and they don't mess with me, and we're gonna live our separate lives. You build nothing. That's a selfish way of applying that rule, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. In business, your morals are tested. Maybe not when things are going well, but when things are going poorly, right? That's where the rubber hits the road, and that's where you've got to get down on your knees and pray and ask for help, and that's when you really are tested. So. Well, no, I was going to say, thankfully, I haven't experienced that in a while, but that's not true. There's always challenges. It's just, as you progress through life and you have more experiences, you're able to navigate those storms. A very experienced sea captain that's been sailing boats for 30 years is going to react to a storm very differently than someone who just bought a boat, right? It's been not his first rodeo. Is going to be there, more faith, and that's again, that's from a spiritual perspective as well. Just say, okay, I'm going to get through this, and obviously there's tricks, and you learn in self-help books as well. And I'm not saying that you can't learn a lot. I mean, I've learned a lot through just skills and through books like that. But just I think we might have discussed this. If you actually trace most of those self-help books back, they all go back to the Bible.
They all go back to the Bible, right?
Yeah.
For the good part. And then the problem is that they could get you into philosophies that are getting you down the drain.
Well, because they try and be different, and that's the problem with some of the different faiths, like Mormonism, and they're spinning and distorting,
right,
the Bible to try and recruit and build their own business. Or I guess business is the only way I can describe what some of those people have done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So. And but talking about the struggles, that's why the Apostle Paul said, rejoice in the tribulation, because the tribulation ultimately creates patience and builds up character. Yeah. So exactly what you just said about the sailor, right? About the captain of the ship. Like if you have had 32 storms, you're gonna see a next storm, and it's not going to be as scary as the guy that just bought the boat.
No, and. Hey, listen, life is a storm, it's a roller coaster, right? There's ups and there's downs, and you got to realize life is like that. The Bible talks about it a lot, and so you could either, go through life trying to resist and be afraid of the roller coaster, or put your arms in the air and yell and smile and just enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
The ups and the downs, it's all your perspective, And this is harder. This is easier said than done.
Yeah, because even when you find, I don't know how it happened to you, but even when you find yourself at the top and you finally say, I made it, something happens. It's like, now what, right? What do I do now? Because your entire life was focused on becoming successful in business, and then all of a sudden you actually look back and you say, thank you, Lord, I'm here, but now what? A lot of people lose their purpose in life if you don't do something proactive. For me, it was going back 100% in my faith and being able to use all my time to serve the Lord, and that fulfills my life in a beautiful way. But how did it happen to you? Because I see a happy entrepreneur that keeps pushing, despite the fact that, let's be honest, you probably don't need another dollar in your life, right?
Yeah, and I think for me, and this is something I a lot of it was by design, but a lot of it was just kind of came in instinctively. When listen, it doesn't feel like overnight at all, because I feel like I put a lot of years into it. But relatively speaking, from the day that I actually officially started my first company to then becoming quote unquote successful, or at least we knew we were going to make it. And then obviously when we sold the company for lots of money, and but the feeling was, okay, let me focus on others now, not so much because I'm good now. Okay, I got a place in Florida. I can spend time in Florida. I got fancy cars. I got golf membership. Okay, so I'm okay. So then let me focus on others, and having others have success, so they can be on the beaches of the world with me if they choose to be. And by doing that and putting the focus on others, obviously I ended up getting what I wanted to, or more what I wanted to, because I participated. Now some people say, "Well, Frank, that's manipulative. You're just trying to get what you want." No, it's a very distinct difference, because it won't work the other way. If I'm only trying to get to people or invest in people because I want to be successful, it's not going to work. I don't think. I see a lot of people trying to do that. I'm focused on their success. I'm genuinely focused. I get true happiness. It's like my children succeeding. When I won a bunch of awards, great. It was good for my ego. Okay. But I was even prouder when my partners and people that I helped get into business, when they got those awards, and I felt like a proud father. Like when, let's say of course, you go to see your child play soccer or hockey and they score a goal and they're succeeding. It's just a different feeling altogether. It feels better than when you played at the sport. So, and then as a result, more success came. And you got to stay grounded in the faith. Otherwise you'll stray. And listen, I'm human, so I did as well. And that's why it is important to whether it's whatever is comfortable. Everybody's different, but whether it's a weekly at church or monthly, or reading reading the Bible regularly, because when you feel you don't need it, it's like working out or exercise or eating right. If you're looking at your weight and you say, okay, I look pretty good right now, so I'm going to start eating chips and hamburgers every day. Well, you're not going to look good for long. Or you're doing regular exercise, and all of a sudden now you get lazy and you start deciding. I mean, that's. I think we talked about that too, right? The angel and the devil on your shoulder. Right? Those little decisions of whether I'm going to the gym or whether I'm going to eat healthy. And those are small examples in your life or analogy, but this definitely as a business owner. Or someone, once you start finding a certain level of financial success, you're going to be tempted, and they'll have even bigger ramifications. You could maybe do something crazy and the whole company falls apart. Now you're impacting people's lives. You're not just gaining 5 or 10 pounds. Now you're impacting others in a negative way, or you blow the company up, or whatever. Or God forbid you do something to an employee, or somebody gets hurt, or God forbid killed at your company because you don't follow the safety procedures in your plant, or to what's that line, to who much is given, much is expected, or God's going to bless you. You've got to be a good steward. And I know there's the parable that talks about that, but so you got to stay sharp. And I believe that I followed a few people or know a few like real successful business people, and maybe unfortunately today it's not as popular to profess your faith, but from what I've observed, a lot of and when I say successful, I'm not just talking about financial, but just the way they live. You can really, if you look at their fruit, you can see they have got great fruit. Most of them are of faith. Mm-hmm. They truly are, not the fake ones, not like a Donald Trump who just pretends to. I'm talking, true God-fearing men that have built their businesses with the right morals and tact. And they're usually have just great relationships. They're well respected. They're blessed with big businesses, lots of employees.
Yeah, and you're right. The Bible says you will know them by their fruits, and that not making it fake, like you said, like not helping others just so that you get what you want. Mm-hmm. helping others because you want them to succeed.
Yeah.
Then the success is inevitable. Like
Yeah.
the result is inevitable, but it's a selfless help, right? It's something that you do, especially with your clients.
Yeah.
You want your employees. You want to be successful in business, really care about your clients.
Absolutely.
Really care about your clients before you care about your own.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't look at them as a way to give you money and get you rich. Just how can I really help them solve a problem? And, focusing on your people. If you take care of them, they're going to take care of the clients for you. Like they're going to feel that love and want to pay it forward. And that's for me, that's what makes running an actual operating company different than anything else. Sure, you can own an investment property or, gold or Bitcoin or whatever these things are. But there's something about, a business and you're creating employment and there's a cause and you're doing it together. And especially if, because I believe there has to be a cause. If a company is going to do something special, or we're just a company, it's just a group of individuals, a group of people coming together with a purpose. And they're hopefully solving problems, and they're competing in the free enterprise space, hopefully with integrity and ethics, and they're getting great satisfaction. They're obviously providing for their families, and more than that, they have a sense of purpose. And so we always encourage people to give it their all, to do the best they can, not just to make money, but understand your children are watching you. You're more than listening to you. So if they see that you're passionate about your craft and you do it well and you make good decisions, and hopefully you base those decisions based on faith, then you're also taking care of your kids. You're showing them the way, just even how you tackle your profession. And I believe that if you're passionate about anything you do, that you will monetize it. Money will follow.
Yeah. For sure, and again, it's there is spiritual laws that if you follow them, even if you're not a believer in Jesus Christ, it will work. That's why you see a lot of people rich that don't have faith, but they are missing something still because they don't have fulfillment, right? Because they don't have the Holy Spirit in them. But if, for example, when you talk about servant leadership, why does it feel so good? Well, you have a culture like that. When everybody's trying to help somebody else before they help themselves. Yeah. Ego goes down, humbleness goes up. And also you're touching a very, 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 very beautiful spiritual law that says giving feels better than receiving. And you were saying that you feel even more proud when your employees started getting those awards because you poured onto them and now they are receiving the recognition, but you are receiving the blessing of seeing that success through others. Right?
It's funny you say that. You talk about the laws. So I believe in the laws, and I believe in from a spiritual perspective. And even if you don't have faith, but if you still practice them, you're still going to have them. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's amazing. I've been giving back to the community, and I've been doing some charity, and all. I've been strangely making even more money." Yeah, it's got a lot of compensation. Right? You reap what you sow. You get it back 30, 60, 100-fold. So, it's the devil wants you self-focused on yourself. The devil wants you to worry about getting more and more things, and then there's no satisfaction that comes out of it. You live an empty life, and there's lots of laws about that and lots of stories about that. So, but it's a constant battle, because as soon as you stop exercising that muscle, and when I mean muscle, by exercising your faith and staying focused on it, it's just like your body. Or if you stop going to the gym, if you stop lifting weights, your muscles will get soft again. You've got to stick with it, because that's where the evil forces get back in. There's spiritual warfare going every day.
And you know what, Frank, it's true, and that's why faith is so important, because I think there is the worst thing that it could happen to an individual is to get rich and have fame super fast because some kind of event happened that allowed for that to happen, because they end up very bad. I just heard that one of the kids from this boy band One Direction, he just killed himself in Argentina. 29-year-old kid. He was rich, he was famous, overdose of God knows how many drugs he put in his body. He started hallucinating, he started having visions, and he jumped out of the balcony and he died.
Yeah. No.
Because he never had the chance to grow that muscle, and especially he didn't have the faith that you and I share, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what I hope for as we go on, and the kids these days. I worry about the lack of focus on spirituality, as a way of life. It's just like everything's going, like we're not worrying about our diet, we're eating crap, and everything's fast. We're not even eating together anymore. Do families even have dinner time anymore? I don't know. Everybody's just running around. We're going through drive-thrus. This is not my opinion. This is, I think, scientific. This is no way to live. It's definitely not healthy.
And I think a great shaking is coming because of that, because there is a huge attack on the family, right? Everything is an attack on the family. If you look at, that's why I don't watch news anymore on the traditional media. I get my news from other sources where I can just get the snippets that I need to watch. That is the facts without being biased.
Yeah.
And also, like you were saying, social media. I got out of all social media. If you see what I have on social media, is my team, promoting these videos, right?
Yeah.
And because they know, like, I'm a computer scientist. I know what they do. I know that they hire topologists that create algorithms that the programmers implement to give you more dopamine. For example, those shorts and the reels like TikTok.
Yeah.
If you start watching that stuff for 30 seconds, 50 seconds, you end up watching 3-4 hours and you don't know why, but it's because every video is another dopamine hit. And then you get addicted.
No, look, I can't remember the name of the documentary, but it was a documentary where the people from Silicon Valley, the actual developers, even said we wouldn't recommend, and even us that we know what it's done, it's hard for us to resist it. Like I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm an optimist, generally speaking, but something needs to change. Otherwise, I don't see the silver lining in a lot of the direction. At least North American living, I think the whole world is going in the same direction. But I think you see certain places in Europe and smaller cities where it's a little bit behind. They're not as Italy is, for example, you'll still see people walking after dinner and but even there is changing. Even there is changing.
Like they
have phones there too. They have smartphones there too. That's the problem.
They're addicted too. And I just wonder. Imagine if we will have to live without electricity for 2 weeks. What will happen? Right? No electricity. 2 weeks.
Just how wonderful no internet would be, I think, would be wonderful. Like, keep electricity, but just lose internet, How wonderful would it be even just as a family to watch TV together? We used to think, oh, TV is so bad, but now if we, as a family, sit down and watch a movie together, that's quality time. We're lucky if we can do that. They don't want to do that most of the time. They just want to go in the rooms, and we try and force them. No, come on, we're going to watch a family movie together. We're definitely going to have dinner together.
It's interesting, because even when you see kids having a birthday party, they are talking to each other through their cell phones, and they are in front of each other.
It's ridiculous.
But let's be positive, and that's why I'm making this channel, because it's a wake-up call, right? It's shining the light in these dark days where people can actually make a conscious decision. And, for example, limit your cell phone usage. Teach your kids. Pray together as a family. Just by doing that, start with 5 minutes a day. You'll see how everything starts getting better, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Frank, every time I talk to you, time goes by so fast. Thank you so much. It's been 40 minutes. I wish you the very best. I would love to end this conversation because I know you're a busy executive. Please keep shining the light, keep building more leaders, because we need them. Good leaders, servant leaders, right?
You as well. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you for watching another episode of Anchoring Hope, where we're shining the light in these last days and hoping for the best, because the best is in the Bible. Please share this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also check other social media for more content. And as always, remember, Jesus Christ loves you, and I love you too.